A quick note before we begin. The other day I put out a video on that whole Marvel Rivals thing where some of the devs were fired despite the great success of the game. I did a whole video talking about that, but then I got a lot of people claiming that the employees were not actually employees, they were just contract workers and their contracts were simply expired and they were not rehired for another contract, which is not the same thing as getting fired or laid off. And if that is true, then that would definitely change the story. However, I could not find confirmation of that anywhere. The only places I could see that information being put forth was in people just saying it. You know, people just kind of saying it and then hearing the people say it and then saying it again. And yeah, I couldn't find confirmation of that. However, I did delete the video anyway, just to make sure, and mostly just because I didn't want the drama. Just, I don't need that in my life. However, I will caution against just repeating information that you've heard and believing things without actually looking and confirming yourself. Hey, we all do it. I've done it before. It's just something you got to try not to do. I would say we're having a lot of problems right now in this country because of how many people just kind of believe stuff without just looking, without literally just like taking your eyes and checking and looking to see if it's true, but that's a whole topic for another day. Point is though, if you were curious, if you saw the video and then saw that it was gone, that was why. I really don't know what is true in that situation. I'm more inclined to believe the devs, obviously, if they feel that the firings were sudden and unwarranted, but yeah, I don't know. Figured in this particular case, it was much easier to just not, I guess. Anyway, please enjoy the actual video now. Explodey full Switch 2 reveal is only a few weeks away, and we are still getting little bits of information in the form of leaks and whatnot, although I suppose you couldn't really call these leaks Nintendo filing patents and whatnot. That's all public information, so I suppose you couldn't technically call this a leak, but it does more or less seem to be confirmation of various features and whatnot. The Verge recently did a report on a number of FCC filings, two of which are very exciting to me, so let's cover them both. The first is a patent that pertains to voice chat, and this is the kind of thing where whenever it feels like they're outlining really just like basic functions, I don't know why there even has to be a patent. I don't know, like, I thought a patent is like you have a brand new idea. You're doing something in a new way. Maybe there is something about this that is slightly different than the way that everybody else does it and they're trying to patent it. I really have no idea, but yeah, the gist of it is it's just about being in a game and other players around you, you know, basically adjusting their volume based on how close they are to you and trying to make it a smooth experience so you're not suddenly blasted with super loud noise. The summary is full of a lot of interesting word choices. What are the sound heard by the user can be gradually switched from the sound acquired by the residual virtual microphone at the position before movement to the sound acquired by the virtual microphone at the current position. Yeah, okay. I understood that, but I imagine that most people who are not familiar with copyright, patent law, they probably wouldn't. It's clear as a bell. But yeah, basically, you know, you've got these like little pictures, and it's basically just that. It's just character positioning and virtual microphone positioning and all that stuff. So yeah, all by itself, it's a fairly plain thing. But like, I think it could potentially mean two things. I mean, like, overall, it is really good that Nintendo is looking into this kind of stuff. You know, historically, we have not had good voice chat options on Nintendo consoles, as some of you may have noticed. You know, they all of the voice chat functionality has been through the NSO app, and it's very awkward and it's very feature poor. And so, yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that it is funny, the year 2025, and we're still, like, playing Nintendo games and having to use, like, outside hardware and software to chat with our friends. It's a little bit silly. So the fact that we're seeing this patent here, I think it looks like good news to me. You know what I mean? The fact that Nintendo is looking into this this may be more of a thing. They actually want people. I mean, that's Nintendo's whole thing. It's playing games together. And for a long time, they didn't even want to do the online multiplayer because they want people to be able to talk to each other on one couch, darn it. So it's funny that, like, you know, okay, fine, you can play online as long as you don't talk to each other, as long as there's no communication. You'd think Nintendo, more than anyone, would want to let us communicate. I know why not. I know why it's been a whole thing, but whatever. I think it's really good that they're looking into this, and I especially think it's important also, like, not just because it is a voice chat related thing. Like, sure, we want to be able to play multiplayer games on our Nintendo systems, on our Switches, and be able to talk to our friends. But this particular patent feels like it goes a little bit further than that. To me, this is the kind of thing it looks like they may implement in their own games, you know? It looks like this is the sort of system that they are going to use in their own game to allow people to voice chat with each other. And when you look at the greater picture, I think that this, I don't know, it really could mean that Nintendo really is thinking about getting into the more persistently online games. Not necessarily live service, but, you know, multiplayer games that really lean into it. Primarily, I'm thinking about that whole, like, whatever test thing that they did some time back where they, like, released a whole weird kind of Minecrafty multiplayer game, and they didn't let anyone talk about it, and we laughed at them. I've been meaning to do a follow-up video because we laughed at them for having this whole, like, global test game beta thing, alpha, whatever you call it, and trying to scare us into not talking about it. We thought that was funny. And then it worked. And then nobody talked about it, and now we just forgot that it's even. Do you remember that? That was like a few months ago. Nintendo literally just had this game that people could play online. I haven't even, like, watched any footage. It really did just go under the radar. But that itself seemed to be an experiment in a much more multiplayer-y kind of multiplayer game, the kind of which that we've not really seen from Nintendo. So. And like, that was a lot more about, like, a lot of players existing in one big world. And so now you have them filing this patent for, you know, fine tuning of the little systems at play when you're close to a player and when a player comes near. And I don't know, it's a lot of little bits of evidence that really do suggest that they could be into creating kinds of games that we have not seen them create before. Maybe it's just one, you know, maybe they've just got, like, one really big multiplayer game, massively multiplayer game planned, either that or they are really just looking into making this kind of game. Maybe this is preliminary. Maybe they don't even have anything directly planned. I really don't know. Yeah, all that to say, clearly they are thinking about this stuff. Clearly they are looking to implement a lot of new systems. And I think that's very exciting. And even if, like, at the very, very best, we just get improved voice chat on Switch 2, then yeah, all by itself, that would be good too. And then the second exciting thing to talk about is that FCC filings seem to have confirmed that the Switch 2 will utilize Wi-Fi 6. I am certainly not well-versed on this kind of thing. I am vaguely aware that when it comes to any kind of data transfer, we have these, like, thresholds, these milestones, these numbers that go up. But at least according to what I'm reading here, the Switch 1 had Wi-Fi 5 and the Switch 2 uses Wi-Fi 6. And of course that just allows better transfer, just higher transfer speeds, I suppose. And now 5 to 6 doesn't seem like a really big leap, but from what people are saying, it looks like this is actually, like, this is one of those rare cases where Nintendo is kind of, like, aiming for parity, more or less. Wi-Fi 6 is pretty much the standard right now. It seems that Wi-Fi 7 is starting to roll out, but at this time, it's not, like, widely adopted. Still only, like, a limited amount of devices currently use it. So yeah, Wi-Fi 6 is apparently pretty good. And the report on The Verge says the filings show it will support Wi-Fi 6. First a car alarm, and now a siren. Interrupted constantly. I had to stop recording so many times this video. Is that it? gonna be a leaf blower next. You just watch. Wi-Fi 6 networks with up to 80 megahertz of bandwidth, up from Wi-Fi 5 on the original Switch. However, it doesn't seem to have Wi-Fi 7 or Wi-Fi 6E, and it's only crossed the FCC with tests for 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz networks, not the faster, shorter range 6 gigahertz band. Okay, yeah, I don't know what most of that means, but it's good. And it says Wi-Fi 6 is the next generation of Wi-Fi. It'll still do the same basic thing, connect you to the internet, just with a bunch of additional technologies to make that happen more efficiently, speeding up connections in the process. And yeah, this is another one that's kind of exciting. Nintendo systems have historically, at least let's say anecdotally, just from my perspective, not had the best download and upload speeds. Again, I don't know like which exact technology each system has used, but I do know that I've like noticed. It's like I remember on the 3DS especially, just being like, wow, this thing takes so long to download even the smallest files. And the original Switch, definitely better. There was still this part of me that thought like, man, my Xbox sure downloads stuff a lot faster than this, but it was still like, okay, it was still fine. It got the job done. But it is true that on the Switch too, you know, game files, especially like big, you know, major releases, they're gonna be a lot bigger. They're probably gonna be multiple times bigger. And so like, yeah, the idea of it taking just hours and hours to download something is a little bit scary. So yeah, if it's true that this is kind of bringing them up to more or less industry standard, then that's really good. I don't know what other factors may be at play, you know, when it comes to upload and download speeds. I don't know if it's really just the specific Wi-Fi tech that goes into it. I really don't know. But again, I think it's just a good thing. It's just a really good thing to look forward to. Switch 2 will very likely just be a whole lot better at downloading stuff a whole lot faster, which will, in theory, help with multiplayer, like online games, right? I think, I mean, I know a lot of that is going to be server side. It comes down to how the game is coded and all of that stuff. But at the very, very, very least, if you know that the chip, the card or whatever within the system itself is capable of high-speed data transfer, then there you go. It's at least one good thing. So those are the two big ones. I'll put a link to the Verge article down in the description so you can see the whole thing. Those were the two big takeaways. The article does also confirm, however, that the Switch 2 is going to support NFC again, which is nice. I don't think there was any doubt that it was going to, even though you could argue that like Nintendo has really been slowing down the whole Amiibo train. Amiibo do not seem to be a very big part of their business anymore, which is a whole conversation in itself. I've been meaning to kind of like do a current day state of Amiibo kind of thing. I know I did like a big Amiibo problem video way back in the day. It'd be interesting to just kind of look at like where Nintendo is with Amiibo, where they might go in the future. So I suppose it was technically possible that they would just ditch the entire idea, but at the very least, Switch 2 seems to have the chip still. And, you know, maybe it'll even be used with other stuff too. Maybe it's not just Amiibo. Maybe it is just Amiibo. I really don't know, but at the very least, it's good to know that it's there. And I suppose, I mean, if anything, just for backwards compatibility, you know, you claim that your thing is backwards compatible. It makes sense to be able to use the Amiibo on the game, so you're not just like locking out certain functionality or whatever. So that's it. Those are the FCC filings. Exciting, real exciting. You know, we're down to a little drip feed of confirming probably obvious features, but you know, it's something to talk about, isn't it?